The only sociological purpose I can remember that I had to deal with and sort of get past was race. You know, I grew up with this idea that, I mean, it was a fact, it wasn't just an idea, that white musicians were given all kinds of help that were denied black musicians. This is an African-American music. Most of the great figures have been black. And yet in the 30s, it was the white bands that got all the great hotel gigs and all the great radio hookups. It was frequently, even in the 50s and 60s, when I was coming up, the white bands frequently got the most attention. I remember everybody saying that Stan Getz was punished for years because of something that a critic wrote about him in Life magazine. Albert Goldman said that he was the greatest saxophone player in the world. This is at a time when Coleman Hawkins was alive and Sonny Rollins, you know, and it was so offensive. Really would have been offensive to say that about anybody because it was ridiculous, but to always, it seemed like it was always the white guy. And so a lot of people started to put down Stan Getz, and I remember having lunch one day. I was writing a liner note for a wonderful saxophone player, black musician, when we were having lunch, and he made some kind of disparaging remark about Stan Getz, and I had done this myself, and I said, but you know, isn't Stan a great player? And he looked at me and he said, of course he's a great player. So, you know, you have to sort of get by that. You know, Getz is one of the supreme figures in my judgment. But there was so much of that, and I really had to deal with it. And in the 70s, I used to talk about this with other critics, white and black, that we'd say, like, if you're standing on 20th Street, and a new white band is coming to town on 15th, and a new black band is coming into town on 25th, it's 5 blocks that way or this way, we'd all go to see the black band. Just the assumption from history is that something more is going to be happening there. So I think at some point you just finally have to really try to become colorblind and say, this guy is saying something and this guy isn't, and it isn't a question of race, and it isn't a question of gender. That was a big issue that we started to deal with because while most of my favorite singers have always been women, there haven't been a lot of really notable women instrumentalists. There, you know, Mary Lou Williams, the great genius, she's always the token female in every discussion of instrumentalists and orchestrators and composers. But there have been so many really gifted women players in the last several years. So that's been something that you have to deal with. But on the other hand, you don't want to say, well, she's really good just because she's a woman or because she's cute. There was a lot of that too. I remember there was a Notorious piece in an essay in which this guy was going on and on about this woman musician, and he just described her legs once too many times to make it a credible piece.